NASA announced the crew of the next moon mission. NASA's Artemis II mission is currently scheduled for November 2024, though it's more likely 2025. The first mission, Artemis I, was a successful test of the rocket, SLS, which is the most powerful rocket ever built, and the Orion capsule, but it didn't have crew on board. Artemis II will be a rigorous test of the crew capsule, and we now know who will be on the mission.
I'm Christina Koch. I'm a mission specialist.
I'm Jeremy Hansen. I'm a mission specialist.
I'm Victor Glover. I'm the pilot.
I'm Reid Wiseman. I'm the commander for the Artemis II mission to the moon.
To the moon.
To the moon.
To the moon.
These astronauts will not land on the moon. This will be a lunar flyby only. There's a few reasons for that. First, this is the first crewed mission of the Artemis program. They need to test out the hardware before they add the additional complexity of landing on the moon. Remember that for the Apollo program, there were 4 crewed flights before attempting a moon landing: Apollo 7, 8, 9, and 10. Yes, we have been to the moon before, so it's easy to ask why we need these test missions. Why can't we just go straight to the moon and then Mars? And the answer is simple: we don't have the hardware. This, unfortunately, isn't a movie. We can't just pull Apollo capsules out of a museum, dust them off, and stick them on top of a rocket and send astronauts back to the moon. We have to build the systems from scratch. Yes, we have the knowledge of how to go to the moon and return safely to Earth, but all of the software and hardware is new. Well, except for SLS's RS-25 engines, which were literally pulled out of the space shuttles, but I'm not going there. Orion is the only spacecraft capable of taking humans to the moon right now, and we don't have anything that'll allow us to land on the moon and take off again. We need time to develop and build it. The lunar lander, which is SpaceX's human landing system for Starship, still hasn't had an orbital test. We saw Axiom's spacesuit reveal, but those suits still need time for development and aren't ready for the lunar surface. There's a ton of hardware and software that needs to be tested before we're confident that the astronauts can land safely and make it back into lunar orbit. So then if we won't be landing on the moon for Artemis II, what will happen? The astronauts will launch and orbit Earth twice to make sure all the systems are working properly. They'll then fire the ICPS engine, which is SLS's second stage, to move into a higher Earth orbit before jettisoning it. After doing more spacecraft and hardware testing, the crew will use the Surface module to perform a translunar injection burn, or TLI, putting them on a free return trajectory to swing around the moon and travel back to Earth. The mission duration will be just over 10 days, and at their furthest, the crew will travel 6,400 miles past the moon. We're probably going to get some iconic pictures from this mission, like the Earthrise photo from Apollo 8. They're basically going to make a giant figure 8 traveling from the Earth to the moon and back. They're not going to perform a lunar orbit insertion burn, which means they'll just swing around the moon and come back. It's kind of complicated when you're trying to talk about it, because yes, they're going to the moon, but they're not landing on it. They're not entering the moon's orbit, but they will be in the sphere of the moon's gravitational influence. If you're asking whether the crew will get a chance to land on the moon, it's possible, but not with Artemis III. Crews aren't assigned to back-to-back missions because there's so much training involved, especially when we're talking about going back to the moon for the first time in 50 years. And while this isn't widely talked about, another reason is that space travel is inherently dangerous and astronauts could die on missions. You don't want them assigned to a future mission with the assumption that they'll return safely.